Good morning, you guys. Morning, afternoon, evening. I don't know when I'm gonna upload this. Probably not on Sunday. I'll tell you that. But today is just like a random episode. I literally have no plan going into this. I ended up talking about a lot of really interesting things. I actually kick it off by talking about my upcoming birthday, how I feel being 16, going on 17. Let me know if you know that reference. I love musicals. But, that whole age transition, excitement for college. I talk about my summer, what I've been up to, briefly. Also the creative struggle. I talk about just sort of the struggles we go through as creatives, you know, trying new things, exploring new fields, what I kind of envision for my life as a creative. And then I actually go in to talk about my man, JC, Jesus Christ. I talk about, having purpose and God giving each person purpose before you were even conceived. You had purpose, because you are God's child. And yeah, that's probably what's going to be the title. But I end up talking about that for the second half of the episode. So yeah, you're marked. In other words, you keep listening, you'll get that reference. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. And thanks for being patient. It's been a while since I've put out a new episode, but I really like this one, so I hope you guys like it too. Remember that God equips the called and doesn't call the equipped. That's something. Facts for you for the second half of this podcast. All right, enjoy. Bye, you guys. Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. It's been quite a few weeks. I pre-recorded some episodes. Well, like, not really. I started to pre-record an episode and then didn't really work out because, I don't know, it just didn't come out good. So I just scrapped them because I was going on a trip and yeah, so I just left it. But yeah, I'm back with the podcast. Kind of like a quarter life crisis. Not even quarter life. I'm 16. I feel like I've been 16 forever. I don't know if that's just me. I guess you could say that for any age. But I feel like it's just been such a long year. And I'm just really excited to be 17. I'm 17 on August 17th. So, like, it's less than a month away. And I'm really excited. I don't know. I'm really excited to be 17 because, for starters, I'm going into my last year of high school. I'm going to be a senior. And I'm just so excited for just all the misery to come to an end. Like, high school wasn't terrible for me, but it still wasn't, like, enjoyable either, you know? So, like, middle school for me was bad. That's where my real, like, fall was. And so high school was just, like, annoying. Like, why am I still in school, you know? So I didn't hate it, but, like, I also didn't enjoy it either. But anyways, so I'm excited to be 17 because it's my graduation year. And I just can't wait to graduate. I don't know, like, I feel like I'm finally, like, accomplishing, like, getting to my first big accomplishment in life, like, graduating high school, and then after that, I'm gonna hopefully graduate college, and hopefully get into college. Well, I know I'm gonna get into college, but that's not a thing I'm doing at 17, is applying to colleges, and hopefully getting accepted into college. Like, I don't know, I'm just really excited to, like, start my life. And obviously, like, high school, or college, I mean, doesn't really determine every, like, direction of your life, and, like, it doesn't determine, like, I'm gonna become successful because I went to this college, you know, that, I don't really believe in that. Like, you can become successful in whichever way you define it, but I'm just excited to do something that's not, like, at home, you know, finally, like, getting to leave the nest, like, go somewhere else, because I really want to go to college out of state. I don't know, and I really want to be in a city. Those are, like, my two, like, things I really want to do. Like, it's not that I have bad schools in my state, I just want to go somewhere I haven't been before, and, like, live somewhere new. So I don't know. That's just kind of like my thought process right now. I'm really excited to be 17. And it's like, because I'm turning 17 on August 17th, it's like 17 on the 17th. It's just, I'm excited. I don't know. So those are my reasonings. I actually have like a no plan for this episode. I actually was gonna originally do this episode on the Hate You Give. I finished reading that book. If any of you listened to my previous podcast titled Privilege, I talked a lot about like white privilege and like a lot of like, I guess, ideas regarding that when it comes to systematic racism. Is the word systematic or systemic? Or does that like, or is it just the same thing? I don't know. I've heard people say it both ways. But yeah, about like racism, systematic racism, and like all different types of topics relating to privilege and ignorance, etc. And so I finished recently, like a couple days ago, reading The Hate You Give. And so I was going to make a podcast about that again, because now that I finished it, like these subjects have been just like circulating my mind. And there's topics that are really important to me. So I'm definitely going to make another episode on that. But I'm trying to think of how I want to make it a little different from privilege. I want to think more about that. So I'm going to wait a little bit more, I think, before I release that episode. I'm thinking maybe to wait until the movie comes out. Like the movie The Hate You Give. But at the same time, I don't want to wait that long to record the episode, because I want to talk about the book while the book's still fresh in my mind. Like, I want to make an episode basically dedicated to the book. So it's going to be different from Privilege, but it's kind of going to be like a book, like, talk, I guess, about the various themes in the book and things like that. That's just my plan, or my, what is it? That's like my idea for right now. Will that actually happen? I hope so. I want to do that. But yeah, today I'm just going to talk. I literally have no plan, no agenda. I was gone for a couple of weeks. So, like, I wasn't out of the state. I was still in the state, but I was in a different part of the state. And then I was at this camp, and there was like, we were like in the middle of nowhere, and like, they took our phones. So like, it was like a bunch of other like teenagers, and they took our phones, and it's about like self-growth, self-improvement, world improvement, like basically everything the world should be, like love, understanding, community, diversity, everything the world should be is like what this camp was. But we're like in the middle of nowhere in a forest. And it was really good. Like, it was really nice. I don't mean to say this to sound like condescending, or we were in the middle of nowhere, or like, you know, degrading or anything like that. But, so after I came back from that trip, I've been back for like a week now. I still like just haven't made anything new, and I feel like I need to do something, but I don't really like want to plan anything. I don't know, like, I'm just such an organized person that I feel like whenever I plan stuff, like, for, like, I like to plan stuff, then I feel like I become obsessive over it, and that's a problem. So it's just kind of weird. Like, I mentioned on Twitter, like, the day I left, I tweeted that I was like, oh yeah, my next stream is gonna be, like, on so-and-so date. And I mean, like, no one cares. Like, obviously, if I don't hold up to that, no one cares. But, like, I just feel like I have to do something. Like, I should probably be streaming or something. But the thing is, like, I don't want to. So I'm just not gonna stream. So it's been actually kind of a relieving thing ever since I, like, left YouTube. And ever since I've been starting in my life to try to just let go of things I just don't want to do, and I want to start doing more things that I want to do, start doing more things related to my different interests, exploring different realms and different parts of myself, going to different places of self-discovery. That's what I really want to focus on, and that's the main reason I left YouTube. And I'm really glad I left YouTube. because I have so much free time. It's like, and I'm just being able to just like be young and just be, I don't know, just do things. I'm obviously not like, guys, I'm like young, wild, and free. I'm not trying to be like that, but it's just nice to be able to like have a break of like me being like obsessive over like organization and scheduling and ideas, XYZ. So it's really nice to have like sort of a break from that. But it's just like, I don't know, I feel like I've felt both sides of like the pros and the cons. So like I'm really glad that I finally have a break and I'm able to do more things, and I'm starting to make like small life improvements, which I'm actually keeping up with, and I really like. That's been really good for me. But things like eating and like eating better, reading more, being more creative, those types of things. But I guess the cons are like some days where like I have nothing to do. It's just like, well, what do I do now? Like these are one of those days. Today is Sunday. And yesterday, Saturday, I did nothing. Today, Sunday, I went to church. Our main pastor actually came. I go to a church where like there's different campuses. And so like I'm one of like the sub campuses, or the church my family goes to is one of like the sub campuses. And so the main pastor actually came like to our church to preach. Usually he's just like on the screen and we just live stream it, But today he was actually like at our church. So that was exciting. And we got to all hear him speak. I actually wrote down some notes that I thought I might share with you guys. And other than that, like we went to Cheesecake Factory to eat like lunch, brunch, I guess. We as in my family. And then I came home and started watching YouTube, and now it's 5:00 and I don't know how that happened. Like I just feel so lazy. I mean, yesterday, Saturday, I did nothing. I actually started editing this documentary that I've been meaning to edit. It was actually a documentary for that camp I was saying, where we were in the middle of nowhere without our phones. So yeah, I started editing that because I haven't edited that, and I want to get that done soon. It's like a mini documentary, but I started editing it, and I'm just at a like creative block. Like I feel like I've just, any creative people know, when you like, you want to make something, and you know what you want it to be about, but you don't know how you want to go about it. So basically this whole trip, I knew I wanted to make a video, and I ended up telling someone at some point during the camp that I really wanted, like I'm really interested in documentary, like filmmaking. And then people went around being like, oh, are you going to make a documentary about, this camp? And so, people kept saying, oh, you're making a documentary, so I guess I'm making a documentary. Which is not, like, untrue. Like, it's not that I don't like documentary filmmaking, but it's just I wasn't planning to make a documentary. And obviously for a documentary, you need, like, interviews. You need a plan. That's actually one of the biggest things you need before you start any creative project or any specifically film, because, you can't repeat time. You need a plan. I didn't have a plan. So I went through the whole camp not knowing what to film. And then I always felt awkward, like, whipping out my camera in the middle of, like, I guess, intimate settings. I don't know if that's the right word. But, like, people were having, like deep conversations and stuff, and I didn't feel comfortable. Like I wanted to get footage, like I wasn't going to have audio, but I wanted to get footage for the documentary because it was like kind of a crucial part, but I also didn't want to be rude, like insensitive. Like it would look insensitive if I just whipped out like my huge camera, because it's not like I didn't have a little point and shoot. I had my DSLR, because I don't have like, that's all I have, which I'm not complaining. Like I use my DSLR like all the time. I'm very appreciative, but like I don't have a small camera that's easier to hide, and doesn't look as like intimidating, if that makes sense. I had my DSLR on my like tripod, like you know one of those like Casey Neistat tripods, like the Joby tripods that are like bendy and look like spider legs. Yeah, my DSLR was on that, and then I also had my Rode microphone on top. So it looked very professional, and I feel like it'd be really insensitive. You're having a deep conversation, like pretend it was like racism, which that actually was one of the topics we were talking about. We ended up talking about like racism, things like terrorism was discussed, mental health, education. Like they're very like important, relevant world issues. And I didn't want to seem insensitive whipping out my camera like in this like circle, like closed environment and filming, because there wouldn't have been audio, but like I just felt awkward. Like I didn't want to seem like I was trying to expose this person, if that makes sense. Or like, I don't know. I just didn't want to be rude. So it was kind of hard to get footage, because now that I'm editing, I'm like, oh, I wish I would have filmed X, Y, and Z. But at the same time, like, I thought about that at the camp, but I knew why I didn't do it, because I didn't want to seem rude. Because I don't want to, like, take my DSLR everywhere, but I don't have anything else, so I just didn't end up filming. And I also didn't have my phones, as I said earlier. So usually I would just bring my phone, because you can easily disguise a phone camera, you know? It's not that hard. But yeah, it was harder with a DSLR. So that kind of annoyed me. That frustrated me, because I had all these ideas of what I wanted to do for this documentary. I started editing yesterday, and then I just, like, I don't know. It's not turning out how I wanted to, because I don't have a lot of the footage that I want. And I'm trying to get footage from as many people as I can, but most people took photos, not videos, which is hard, but we'll figure it out. Especially when you don't have a plan. So that's my little rant for you guys, my creative rant. But speaking of more creative things, before I get back to what I was talking about with my sermon today, so I really want, each month, I really want to have like a creative project for that month that I like focus on. So for the month of June, what was my creative project? I don't really remember. I think it might have been like my bullet journal, like starting my bullet journal. I guess it's probably my creative project, because I really want to get better at drawing, and I really want to learn how to draw. So my creative project, I think, for June was like starting my bullet journal and like doing that. I mean, I guess my podcast. My podcast would be considered a creative project, but I also just started bullet journaling too. So I guess June is a double whammy. I started my podcast, which is this, and then I also started bullet journaling, and my bullet journal is very like visual. It's like colored pencils. It's not pen based. Mine's like very colorful, and it's like cool visual spreads. Like they're all photos, like pictures of things. Each type of tracker and spread I have is a picture of something, a drawing of something, and that's been a lot of fun. I've been doing it since June, which is not been that long, but I've been enjoying bullet journaling in that way. July, I'm counting my, what is it? What was I talking about? My documentary. Yeah, the word just slipped out of my mind. My documentary for this camp is like my July, I guess, creative project, and I really want to finish it. I just don't know how to continue it. Like, it's just really hard to continue it, because I don't want it to sound repetitive, but I don't have, like, all enough footage, and it's just hard. It's a real struggle. Especially when it's, like, because filmmaking is such a creative industry, like, a collaborative industry, I mean. It is creative, too, but, like, it's, my TV production teacher last year was saying, the film industry is probably the most collaborative industry, like, in the world. And it's hard to like try to make all these decisions like by yourself. Like I'm my own film, I'm my own filmmaker, I'm my own editor, I'm my own sound designer. Like I do pre-production and post, like I do all of it. So it's a struggle, and I just wish I had like a team or something to help me with this project. That's actually something I really want to do in the future. I really want to be able to make a production company where I'm just focused on creatives and just like giving creatives a place to come together. I don't know, like I kind of want it to be like an open workspace. What are those things called? Like open offices? Where if you, it's like where you work from home, but it's like an office, but like it's not for a specific job. I think they're called open offices. I don't know, I was reading one of the passages on like some PSAT I took was about these. I can't remember what they're called. But yeah, kind of like that, but different. And I want to have like different departments, so or for different creative industries. So like whether it's like show production, like a TV studio, or like a fashion studio for like modeling and fashion photography, editing labs. Like I really want like a whole, to be able to be a CEO of like a creative industry where we just bring together creatives and we collaborate. And I would just love to do that. That's like probably one of my biggest goals. Because I really want like, because with the thing with creatives is you can't really limit creative people to one box, because we're such like diverse people, and we're such like creatives can't be just like put in a box, because there's always something to be creative with. You're not like, just because you're a photographer doesn't mean you just like photography, you know? At least that's been my experience. Like my main thing is video making, especially with like my college application, or not, I'm not applying yet, but like my college search process is like video production is probably like my like top choice. But I don't just want to do film production. Like I want to use university, like if I'm spending, you know, this crap ton of money to get an education, like I want to learn something also that's new. I don't just want to like limit myself to film production. And I know not all schools are different in their, I guess, like programs for different degrees are, you know, vary, but it's hard because it's like, I don't want to like make that sort of commitment. Like my degree is going to be film production, you know, like I want to do other things. Like can I get degrees in other areas too without having to double major, you know? I don't know. I definitely feel like I want to major and minor in something. Like if I think I'm going to like major in film, but then minor in something else. Because like a social science maybe, because I'm really interested in like anthropology, history, African American studies is also kind of interesting to me. Psychology is interesting to me. So I think it, like a lot of times with film majors, people will like minor in like an area that they're interested in making like films about, if that makes sense. Public relations I'm also really interested in. That kind of goes along the lines of film. Fashion design, marketing, those are all like different things I'm just interested in, and I don't just want to limit myself to one, and they all kind of relate to each other too, which is why like I want to learn about these different things, because you know, knowledge is power. But yeah. I was talking about my different creative projects for like each month. So June, I said my podcast, and then my bullet journal. July was this documentary for this camp. And then August, I really want to upcycle clothes. And I really want to learn how to sew. Or like I know how to sew, but like I need to practice it because I'm not good. Like I've sewn pillows before and like have, you know, used felt and stuff. But I really want to like get good at sewing and like be like resourceful. Or not necessarily resourceful, but like I really want to learn how to like make my own clothes and how to shape my own clothes. So like if I buy something from a store, because I don't return stuff like ever, I don't return clothes ever, I want to learn how I can make something else out of it. I want to get better at that. You know, like I can have a vision and then it won't look anything like I want it to look. So, you know, like I have a vision, or it would look something like I want it to look, but it won't be as precise and pristine. You know, like the edges aren't perfect. Yeah, kind of like life. You have a vision and you kind of get there, but it's not going to be, you know, precise and pristine. The edges are kind of rough, but you got there. Hey, look at me making life metaphors or life analogies. But yeah, that's my August goal, is to make, like, upcycle my clothes. I recently went through my closet, and I have so many clothes that I don't wear. Either I don't wear or don't fit me. Don't wear because it's ugly, or it doesn't fit me right. And then, yeah, things that are just too small or that I've just grown out of. So I have to get on that, trying to sell those things, donating them, what I want to do with these different clothes. So, but then there's a small pile of things that I think I can upcycle. Like, there's a couple of dresses which are kind of ugly, not gonna lie, don't like them anymore. Or some of them I have never even worn. But some of them my mom have bought like a long time ago, and I'm like, why are these still in my closet? But I like but they fit well, and I like how the bottom half of these dresses would look like as skirts. So I'm gonna try to cut these dresses and make them skirts, because they fit really nice, and I like the material, and I want to hopefully see if they can pass as a skirt. So I'm gonna try to do that. That's gonna be my creative project for August. Fun fact, I actually really I had this DS game. So back in like 2009 or 2010, whenever the original like DS like handheld game console like system thing came out, I got this game called Style Savvy. Not like when it came, like, this is, okay. So for the original DS, I got this game called Style Savvy, and I really loved it. It was basically like you ran a boutique, like a fashion boutique, and you styled your customers that came in, and it was so much fun. And I loved it so much. Like, I can't tell you, like, that was by far, like, my most favorite game for my DS. Like, probably next to SpongeBob, I had a SpongeBob game. I believe it was, like, Atlantis Scorpantis? Oh, no, I had Atlantis Scorpantis for the Wii. Okay, but for my DS, I had some SpongeBob game. I don't remember what it was. It was based off of, like, some special. Like, some SpongeBob special, but, like, not really. It was more, like, just to get money, you know. But, they named it after the special to get money, but, like, it wasn't really about that special. The name is slipping my mind. But anyways, next to that SpongeBob game I had for my DS, I love Style Savvy, and I've just always loved fashion. Like, I was 10 years old or somewhere around there playing Style Savvy, and, like, that still hasn't changed. Like, I still really love clothes. So, hence when I mentioned, like, it would be really cool to run, like, a fashion photography studio department in my creative studio. I mentioned that earlier, but what I would ideally like to do in the future if I had my way, you know. Yeah, I don't really know what's going off of that. But yeah, I definitely want to renovate some of my clothes that I have right now and try to, like, make cool pieces with them, because I think that'll be a lot of fun. Also, making jewelry, that's something I've been wanting to do for a while. I took a jewelry making class, like, a couple summers ago. It's been like 3 or 4 summers, actually, now that I think about it. But it was a lot of fun, and I really loved it. Same with textiles. Like, I took a textiles course, where we made pillows, and we sewed, and we, like, dyed fabric. And that was so much fun, too. Hence why I want to, like, do stuff with sewing, and I don't know. Also, the other day, I recently sewed up my pillow. Like, I had this throw pillow on my bed, where, like, it's really cheap, and it, like, bust open, and it's been broken for a while, and I, like, sewed, and there was, like, this ruching on it. That might sound really ugly as I explain it, but it's a cute throw pillow, and I sewed it together, and I'm really proud of myself, because it was just a busted up throw pillow on my bed for the longest time, and I sewed it together, and, it's all good now. So, like, I just feel very proud of myself. Like, I did that running stitch. Like, you did that, Mackenzie. Like, all you, girl. But, yeah. Anyways, life updates. So, I think now I'm gonna actually go back to talking about Jesus. Like I mentioned at the very beginning of this podcast, I was like, okay, I went to church today, and I wrote down some notes, and I want to talk to you guys. I didn't write down a lot of notes, but, like, I don't know, like, some stuff just, like, really stuck out at me. As I said, like, my head pastor, it sounds really weird, my head pastor, but, like, you know, the main pastor came and like came to my campus today, and it was great. So the first point I wrote down was that you're marked in all caps, / chosen by God and filled with purpose. So I'm trying to remember what he was exactly talking about. Oh, he said, okay, I almost started crying during the service, but like he was saying how like I know, because like during this moment where he said this, like I was just like thinking and was just really worried and really just like anxious about like life, and I don't know, like I have like issues with social anxiety, and I feel like everyone's looking at me when like I know no one's looking at me, and I just felt very self-conscious and was just thinking about all these things I did wrong. I was just feeling ashamed about like my family, I don't know, like where I was, what I was doing, how like I feel so alone a lot of the times. And like I've always been raised in like a Christian family and a Christian household, but like at the same time I feel like so alone, and so like I know I've been saved, and like I'm saved, and that like I accepted Christ, because I feel like there's no way I can deny, even in times of doubt, there's no way that I can bring myself to deny that, you know, God is God, and that Christ, you know, died for my sins, and that he's the Lord and Savior, and he's like holy. Like I can't get myself to deny that even through times of doubt. Like, so like I know I'm saved, I know that I know Jesus, but I've just been in a really rough time where like trying to like cling to God and being able to actually trust that God has a plan and that God's actually with me. I've been really struggling with feeling his presence, because I don't know, I just have issues with like trusting people, with making friends in general, and I feel like I'm just alone, and I'm like, God, how could you do this? How could I, like, people say when you have God, like, that's, you know, God's your ultimate, you know, comfort, and he's your refuge, but like I feel like I'm just so alone, and like in the real world too. So I've been kind of struggling with that. And the pastor, he was saying, I was thinking about all these things as the pastor said. He was like, I know a lot of you guys would come in here with a lot of struggles and challenges and challenging things, but I want you to know that God has, you know, a plan for your purpose, like a plan for your purpose. God has a plan for your life, like, or what he said specifically was before God created the heavens and the earth and the water and all these beautiful things you see around you, he created you with purpose. Like before you even like look out your window, if you have a window next to you, like all of this greenery, and if it's summer, but all like the greenery, all the sky and the ground and the wind and the ocean, like before all of that was even thought of, like God had you, and he created purpose for you, you know? And maybe not before that was even thought of, but you know, like before that even happened, like he knew about your existence and your purpose on this earth. And that, I don't know, that like really touched me. And I just thought that was really cool. I don't know. I mean, I don't feel like I'm a changed woman, you know, after listening to that, but it really opened my eyes to like, it's just kind of cool to hear that, you know? And the way he does it, so like my pastor does it so personally, he's like, you know, all of you came in here with challenges and struggles and, you know, tribulations. Like I'm talking, like I'm speaking to you. And that's when I was like tearing up. But, you know, I held it in. I need to do better with like being able to caca in public, like set it free. And just being able to be vulnerable. That's another thing I struggle with. But yeah, so you're chosen by God and you're filled with purpose. Before, you know, you were even born, God had a plan for your life and a purpose for your life, and you're on this earth for a reason. And that's just so humbling and just like so amazing, for lack of better words. Like I can't think of a word more than amazing. I don't know. It's just cool. And then that also reminded me of a sermon I was listening to by Transformation Church. So the pastor of Transformation Church, if you look them up on YouTube, there is a church in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Their pastor, Pastor Mike, love him. Like, for real, like, if there is one, like, biblical, I guess, like, church person I would want to meet Pastor Mike. He is so good. Or, like, even not meet him, like, hear him preach. Like, can Pastor Mike please come, like, across the country to come preach at my church? I love him so much. And then he had this really great sermon series called Relationshipgoals. That's how I found him. So good. It was in my subscription feed, or like my recommendations, and YouTube, you did good on that one. I listened to all of Relationshipgoals, and it's really good. And that's how I found out about Transformation Church. But there was this time where Transformation Church, Pastor Mike, he went to Elevation Church, which is in North Carolina. I think Charlottesville or Charlotte, North Carolina. Their pastor is Stephen Fultrick, I believe is how you pronounce his name. I'm actually following both of them on Twitter. At Smoothie Plays. Follow me. Pastor Mike came to Elevation Church, and he preached about, being marked. Like, so, I think what is it? The sermon is just called "You're Marked," and that's exactly what I thought of when my pastor was saying how, like, before, you know, the heavens and the earth and the land and the water was created, like, you were thought of, and, like, you were filled with purpose, you know, by God, like, by your creator. And I just, like, it just reminded me so much of that. And I'm pretty sure I do have notes on my Google Docs. I'm gonna look on my Google Docs for You're Marked. I think I was actually listening to this sermon when I was painting my room a couple weeks ago. Yeah, May 8th. Oh my god, it seems so long ago. It really wasn't. Look at me trying to sound old. Back in my day. No, but, like, I was painting my room. I repainted my room, like, back in May, and I was listening to the sermon, and it just took me back. Alright, I like how my internet just does not like to load. Alright, so these are the notes I wrote from Pastor Mike at Elevation Church, like, as a guest speaker. So, you're marked. To be marked by God, you must be ... Number 1, approved in private. Number 2, anointed before positioned. Number 3, you. In parentheses, I put, God uses you and what you know. And number 4, audacity to honor. Okay, so to be marked by God, you must be approved in private, anointed before positioned. You must be you. And you must have the audacity to honor, I guess, like, God. I don't really remember this, what those actually meant. I didn't actually go in depth into it, which I probably should have written better notes, but I guess I was painting. But it was really good. I remember, like, the way he speaks, like, the way he claps his hands between the syllables when he's saying something really important, and just the way he, like, he's so charismatic, he's so funny. Like, he's not just a pastor, like, he's so funny, and I love him. Go listen. Transformation Church, look him up. If you want to listen to You're Marked, listen to You're Marked. If you don't listen to You're Marked, listen to Relationshipgoals or any other sermon on the YouTube channel. They're all so, so good. And then another note I actually wrote under my marked notes says, step towards obstacles and make them opportunities. Ooh, that's facts. That's truth right there. That's awesome. Ooh, okay, right under my marked notes, I listened to another sermon called Savage Jesus. um, those are and that was by Elevation Church, is like normal pastor Stephen Fultrick, which I said earlier. And I only wrote 2 things down, but those are, I guess, the 2 things that really stood out to me because I was, painting my walls and wasn't going to my computer to type. But I wrote down, validation comes after obedience and peace comes after obedience. So that's really cool. Savage Jesus, I started that series and I never finished it, but I liked the first one. So yeah, 2 things you guys should look up. Transformation Church. If you only look up one thing, look up Transformation Church. But if you can look up 2 things, look up Elevation Church after that. Because, I just really, I just fell in love with Pastor Mike after the what is it? The Relationship Goals series. I haven't really listened to a whole ton of Elevation Church. I really like Elevation Church. I'm not saying, they're both praising God, so that's the bottom line. But they're both great. Anyways, I don't even know. I feel like I was digging myself into a hole while saying that. But you're marked. God has chosen your purpose before you were even, formed in your mother's womb. What's that verse? I formed you in my mother's womb. I knew the amount of hairs in your head, before you were even, conceived. I formed you in the womb. Verse. Jeremiah, is this right? Jeremiah 1:5? Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations. Ooh, that's cool. That's deep. At Bible study, they were actually saying, I went to Bible study, and then they were actually saying to find a verse that really means a lot to you and, put it everywhere. We're reading a book in my Bible study called Lies Young Women Believe. Since I've been out of town, I actually haven't been reading it. But I read one of the chapters on truth, and it's really interesting. I'll read my notes, because, someone sent it in my Bible study group chat, the pages of the chapter, and I highlighted it, on my phone, if that makes sense. Hopefully I'm making sense here. But let me show you. The definition of truth says, okay, I'm just going to read you the stuff I highlighted. So this is a book, Lies Young Women Believe. There's the lies women believe, and there's the lies young women believe. So this is from the young women one. So in the truth chapter. So I highlighted this. The problem with these definitions of truth is that they use circular reasoning. There is not a foundational starting point for the definition of either a lie or the truth. Oh, this was talking about how, when people, the world tries to define truth, they usually use truth to describe a lie and a lie to describe truth. Does that make sense? So, they would say something like, something true is something that's not a lie, and something that's a lie is something that's not true. But what I highlighted is saying the problem with these definitions is that they use circular reasoning. There's not a foundational starting point for the definition of either a lie or truth. So, what is our standard for truth? What is the original that defines truth? Because in the dictionary, what dictionary.com says that the truth is an agreement with a standard or original. So, what is as Christian women, what is our standard for truth? What is the original that defines truth? And obviously, that is the Bible, and that's, Jesus. But in this chapter, they said they were doing a study, and they interviewed, or they asked, over 200 or something women that identified as Christians. I don't know who they went to specifically or how they found these women, but they said only a couple women said that the truth is Jesus, and Jesus is I'm the way, the truth, and the life. like, actually, like, the definition of Jesus, like, is truth. Like, one of his names means actual, like, truth, like, literally. So, I don't know, that's cool. I'll read you guys some other stuff I highlighted. So this is in the source of truth. Oh yeah, here it is. This is actually what I just said. Of the hundreds of Christian young women asked to define truth, only one wrote, Jesus himself said, quote, I am the way, the truth, and the life, end quote, John 14:6. He is the definition of truth. He is the perfect standard. He determines what is right and good and true. Jesus reveals the truth to us. He does this through the written word of God, the Bible. In fact, quote, the word, end quote, is actually one of Jesus's names, which is, I just said, which is in John 1:14. So I thought that was really interesting. How many more pages? I have a couple more pages I highlighted. A couple more things. The next thing I highlighted, this says, whenever her mind or her emotions were assaulted with lies, she would read those verses aloud. Gradually, her thinking began to change as her mind was renewed with the truth. I didn't feel different immediately, but I knew that I finally had a weapon. Oh, so this is like about in a Bible study. So in the people that, you know, do our Bible study, she's actually like an intern for my church, and she was saying how, like, I want you guys to find a Bible verse that you really like and that encourages you, and like put it everywhere, like on sticky notes, on your phone, everywhere. And that's actually based off of something in this book. So this girl put, I guess, verses that combated the lies she believed, like, around her. And this, I'll read it again. Whenever her mind or her emotions were assaulted with lies, she would read those verses aloud. Gradually, her thinking began to change as her mind was renewed with the truth. I didn't feel different immediately, but I knew that I had finally had a weapon. And that's something I really need, and I really clung to. Clung, is that a word? I clung to that. Okay. And there's one more page I highlighted. I knew I was free when one day a friend shared with me how she didn't think she could overcome her eating disorder because she could never stop thinking about it. That used to be me, but that day, I realized I hadn't thought about it for months. I was free. And then the next paragraph says, there are consequences to believing lies. Those consequences may include depression, problems in relationships, or hopelessness. There are also results to believing truth. Jesus promises that you and I can know truth and that the truth will set us free. John 8:32. So, that's cool. Kelly and countless others have experienced this freedom. Now it's your turn. That's cool. I guess Kelly's the girl who's like the example in this chapter. Once again, I don't have the book. These are just screenshots that were sent to me during, in our Bible study group chat, because I was gone for the past 2 months, so I didn't have a chance to get the book. But, or not 2 months, 2 weeks. But those are just really encouraging things, and I just really love those, and I just wanted to share. Especially the thing about the definition of truth is that, like, as Christians especially, we need to stop defining truth as what the world defines it, because the world is going to say whatever you think is true is true. Like, the world is very selfish and very self-centered and very focused. Like, just go on social media, just go anywhere, like, people are going to say whatever you want to do is right, like, do you, boo-boo, like, yeah, that's good to an extent, but, like, when people, like, literally put that as their source of truth, their standard for truth, you're gonna ridicule anyone that doesn't, like, believe against you. And, like, for Christians, like, our truth is, God. Like, God is the way, the truth, and the life. Like, Jesus's, like, name is actually, like, truth. Like, it means truth, and we need to start living for what he says and living up to his standard, because when we start becoming more selfish and we start relying on ourselves, and girl, I'm speaking to myself here, I'm speaking out myself, but I need this. Hopefully it'll encourage some of you guys out there too. But like, we need to start living by the truth of the Bible and the truth of Jesus and God, and because that's something that'll never fail, because people are ever changing and people will fail. Like, that's just inevitable in human nature. So stop putting yourself as the center of truth and start putting God, because Jesus is lit, you know? Did I just say that? Okay. Anyways, yeah, that's something I've been thinking about. But that went a lot of different directions. I was going to talk about more of the sermon I was listening to today. I literally just went over the first point, which was, you're chosen by God and filled with purpose. You're marked. So I ended up talking about that for a while, because I started talking about Pastor Mike and then truth in my Bible study. But hey, that's actually kind of I feel like it's a good place to wrap up, right? Yeah, I don't know. I've been really trying to learn and, understand what it means to own your own truth and, to own truth. And I feel like that's a really good reminder that I'm a Christian woman, and I should be standing for the truth of God. And it's hard. It's like, girl, when you're a Christian, your life gets harder, not easier, because you have to have faith. Oh, my mom's calling me. All right. I'm going to end this podcast so I can pick her up, or pick up that call. But, yeah, it's been struggle because, the world tells you to own your own truth by, whatever your standard is. And I'm like, well, how does that, relate to God? So I kind of have to go back to the Bible being like, what's God's truth for me then? What are God's truths for his daughters? So I have to stand on that truth and not owning my own truth, but owning my truth through Christ, if that makes sense. I like this. This is like therapy. I like doing this podcast. I was almost gonna be like, why the F am I doing this podcast? Because I don't know, no one listens, but now that I'm doing it, I'm just filming an episode with no plan, no agenda. I'm actually remembering why I started this in the first place. So yeah, you always have to create for yourself. That's a life advice for creatives. You always have to do stuff for yourself, and then you share it. You never make an art piece for someone else, or else it won't come out as you want it to. Sorry. I don't know. Not to talk about being selfish, but when you create art for yourself and you decide to share it afterwards. So that's a whole other talk for another episode, though. Art, creatives, actually want to do something about that, or something more with that topic. But I'm going to end the episode right here. I hope you enjoyed this podcast episode. I literally had no notes. I just started talking. So I hope you enjoyed, because I enjoyed talking. It's been a long time since I've talked to myself, but I've enjoyed it. So if you enjoyed, be sure to follow the podcast on Twitter to get notifications. Check out my other episodes, subscribe wherever you're listening, can't speak now, I've been talking for so long, and I'll see you guys next time. All right, bye you guys.